San Francisco.
All right, you guys, it's episode 31 of Inner Demons. I'm going to get straight to it, man. Once again, I know you guys have been waiting for this part, episode 30. I wanted to get into the mental part of it, man. So right now we're about to get into the physical part of it, man. Actually going out to the yard for the first time and kind of trying to feel our way around, man, feel our way through a lot of the things that we kind of had to figure out for ourselves. And it's crazy, man. But okay, so like I told you guys, man, for the next couple days, I want to say that we ended up hitting the yard like within the first 5 days after we got there. We'd end up going to committee, and going to committee, they ran us through their little speech. This prison right here, we don't have no warning shots. You guys learn how to get along with people out there on the yards. Otherwise, you run the risk of being shot and killed, all this. And I didn't even respond to it. My way of thinking was like, man, look, you guys are the ones staging these fights. You guys are setting this shit up. You guys know that we're mortal enemies, but yet you guys are putting us all out there on the same yard. So I just didn't respond. I kind of just smirked and was like, yeah, whatever, man. So anyway, you're here on a parole violation. You got this much time left, and you know what I mean? If I was you, I'd just do what I got to do and get home. Get up out of here, man. This is not a prison that you want to be at. Yeah. So anyway, I want to say it was like 5 days after we got there. It wasn't that long, man. Trust me. So between that time and the time we went out, I'm telling you, man, every chance I had or every chance I heard somebody come out, or whenever they would run yard or where they would run showers, I was always on the gate, always on my door, trying to see who's who, who was where, try to get a mental diagram of the tier, both bottom and top. And again, man, I know I said this in episode, what is it, 29 now? 29. It's hard to see in the cells, especially when they run showers in the evening time. A lot of times it's towards the evening. It's hard to see in there. You're going to see silhouettes. And a lot of the times cats are on their doors and they're right up close to the gate. And that makes it even harder to see them. So, it wasn't, sometimes you can see them and you can make a little bit of like, you see, okay, that's Raza right there. That guy, that was Africano, but it didn't do that much good, man. Unless they came all the way out, they walked across the pod. You just had to kind of figure it out. And I didn't make an attempt to yell down to anybody to start asking cats where they were from. I figured it out. I even told my cellie, I'm like, bro, that was a mental mistake that I made right there. And he had no clue, man. Oh boy had no clue. He was like, what do you mean? When our neighbors guided us, if I would have known, but I didn't know. That was the way that I was used to. From San Quentin to Susanville, the oils that I've been through, somebody gets at you, even up in the Bay. When you get there and, your neighbor, they're going to be the first ones to get at you whenever you go into a new house. Somebody's going to make the initiative to get at you, and it's usually going to be your neighbors. And you identify yourself, hey, homie, hey, you that just came in. Yeah, what's up, man? Hey, where you coming from, homie? Hey, I'm coming from Quentin, bro. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Hey, you a northerner or you a southerner, homie? I'm a northerner, bro. Orale. All right. Hey, you got some homies downstairs, or you got some homies over there in the pod next door. Right here, you really don't got nobody in this pod. But hey, man, once you get situated, we got a little something for you, man. A care package, your necessities, some writing material, something to read, man. If you guys need anything in the meantime, just go ahead and holler out, man. My name's such and such. Okay. But like I said, man, these are two different environments. Later on, once I got to different pods and I had been there for a while, there was some level of respect though. There was some, we were still interacting with each other. We were still sharing literature in some of these pods. A lot of them were, where the older cats were, or a lot of the Imeros and cats that had been around. There wasn't that many NF members over there. You'd see some occasionally here and there, and you see a lot of guys from Fresno. And at that time, when you run into them, you were just happy to see anybody from Northern California. That division wasn't fully developed at that time. It was still, the rift between Fresno and the Norteño collective was still just barely starting to form. So there was a lot of homies from Fresno that were still, with that mentality of, hey, I'm from Northern California. I'm a Norteño. I ride with you cats. There were a lot of them that were being pulled the other way that were like, nah, man, we ain't with that shit. We got into it with these guys over here, and, I'm cool with you cats, man. But in that situation, it's a war, man. So you were just happy to run into anybody from Northern California. And I'm going to tell you like this, when you're in that kind of environment and you go from one pod to another and you're by yourself. They split me and my cellie up after the first time we went out, which I'm going to get into in a minute. But when you run into somebody, now you're alone, and then you run into somebody, you're like, fuck, you know what I'm saying? A homeboy, man, and you feel comfortable. You feel a little bit of like, okay, I got somebody here now, man. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be all right. I'm going to get through this, man. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, like I said, they run showers, and I do the little bit of observation that I can in the pod. At the end of the day, it really didn't do that much good. I couldn't really identify anybody by tattoos. All I could identify really is some of them by ethnicity, and the fact that, when I seen two white guys together, that made me realize that, okay, these guys are white guys, because like I said, you got some white guys from the hood, some white guys that grow up in Norteño neighborhoods, and some grow up in Sureño neighborhoods. So you don't know, they could be you see a white guy, they could be a Norteño and a Sureño, or a Sureño. But the fact that you see two of them together, okay, these are white guys. They're falling up under they're two white guys that are celled up together. So more than likely they're both Woods. That's who they ride with. So that's the only thing I was kind of able to do, man. And the fact that my neighbors did not identify themselves when we did made me realize that these guys are Southsiders. They would identify themselves as, okay, all right, homie, when we said we were Northerners, hey, we'll get at you. But there was none of that. It was like, and where you guys come from, you know what I'm saying? And where you guys from? And when I said that, they were like, okay. And that was it. There was no more talking after that, nothing like that, man. So I'm like, okay, we got two Southsiders right here. These guys are definitely ops. There's some white guys on the bottom tier. There's a couple up on the top tier. The rest look like all raza. Come to find out, man, once I got the full schematics of the tier, there were downstairs on the first tier, there were a couple cats from Fresno that they were going out doing their thing, but those guys weren't allies. They were two cats from Fresno that had broken away. They were bulldogs, and we didn't really have no conversation with those guys during that first little. We were only there in that pod for about a week. Like I said, we were out on the yard like 5 days, and then after that, they split us up and moved us. Other than that, I knew that there was Africano down on the first tier, all the way in the corner. He went out the first time they ran a yard. He went out with two Sureños, and he did their thing. So that was the most that I was able to gather from looking at my surroundings, which was nothing. And like I said, again, this was an advantage by not identifying yourself, by not telling people who you were, where you were from, and who you were, so that when you hit that yard, you're either going to rush them. If they knew who you were, they were going to rush you. But if you didn't know who they were, before you rush them, you're going to try to get at them, unless you just know that they were ops, man. So it was kind of tricky in the beginning, man. So anyway, okay, so like I said, it was probably the second or third day that they ran yard after we got there. Not for us, because we were still new. And I think I don't know if they like confined CTQ'd you for the first so many days or not, but like they let us go after like 5 or 6 days. But the way that they were running yard back then, it seemed like it was intermittent, man. They kind of broke it up different, because sometimes they would run one up, one down, one up, one down. Then at other times they would run neighbors, and then other times they would jump around. But I kind of figured it out later. It depends on who was working, that they ran it their way. Other guys had it um a different way, and a lot of it depended on them betting, because they were betting, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But the other thing is, when they started doing like neighbors from side to side, is you were only allowed to go out with the same cell or the same individuals and fight with them twice. Once you fought with them twice, then they chose somebody else for you to go out with. So you got to jump around and get off with a bunch of different cats over the course of time, every 10 days. And it didn't seem like they had it wasn't like, okay, we got off with these two Southsiders that are next door to us, they're going to jump down to the next two Southsiders that are next on the tier. They didn't have it like categorically figured out, man. It was just like, I think a lot of it just depended on who they wanted to see fight. We're going to run these guys out with these guys. We're going to run them out with these guys. You know what I mean? So that's how they were doing it. And the other thing is they ran 2 yards. They ran 2 yards in the morning. They ran 2 yards in the afternoon. And then they ran 1 yard in the evening. So they ran 5 yards a day. You got 10 buildings that are running all these different yards, man, and everybody's getting off. So it's on and cracking over there, man. You hear stories, and they just shot somebody else over there. You hear these CEOs talking about somebody else that just got blasted and somebody just got killed. And, so it was crazy, man. It was crazy. And that just kind of hyped you up more when you would hear him talking about shit like that, man. Okay, so like I said, the first yard that I seen them run was the Africano that went out with the two Southsiders. So, I'm wondering, like, I'm like, where's the fucking yard at? I don't know where the yard's at. I don't see the yard in the building. I'm wondering, there's a door on the wall. I'm wondering if that's the yard, if it's over there. And then I end up finding out that the yard, you got to go out the pod and go out, and it's kind of like in the hallway. That's where they got like a little sally port, a door. That's the little area that you step into, and then they shut that door, and that's where they take your cuffs off and you go out to the yard. The yards are shaped like pies. It's a pie shaped, like a single piece of pie. It's kind of like a triangular shape. It's long. On the walls, you'll see they got it posted, no warning shots. And if you ever get to stay out there for any length of time and get to enjoy a little bit of yard, which wasn't too often, unless you finally got to the point where they put you on walk alone, you get to see all the bullets, all the bullet holes, and the big chunks of concrete that were torn out the walls. You see them everywhere, man, all over, in the corner, up on the wall, high in the wall, low. You can see where bullets had ricocheted off all the walls. It's crazy, man. Anyway, that was the first yard that I seen them run. Then they ran those guys from Fresno out with some white guys, and then they kept on running other yards. They didn't have no other enemies on the tier. They had some other guys that were PCs that did not go out. They were inactive. When it came time to go to yard, I figured out that, the guys that were going out, they had to speak up. You had to say something, and you had to turn your light on. If you didn't turn your light on, that meant you weren't going out in the yard. You weren't going to participate. And like I said, those guys became your enemies too. They got something coming. So, okay, that cell right there, that's a dead cell. Those guys are Northerners, but, they're no good. And we never spoke to them. There was never a reason to. So that was pretty much it. the first time, it was like the second or third day that they ran that yard out, that we had seen that they got off. We heard about it. Some of the CEOs were talking on the tier about it, the Africano, and then you knew they only stayed out for a couple minutes. And the Africano that went out, he was lightweight J-Cat. He came back in all hyped up. These other guys walked in. You could just obviously just tell by looking at them and their body language that something had just kicked off, man. The medical came in and they got to medically clear you before they put you back in your cell and all that shit. And that's the other thing, man, about medical. You can't request medical attention. A lot of times you're going to get hit with block guns. You're going to catch I used to get hit with that Bertha all the time, every 10 days, man, every 10 days. Sometimes you'd have bruises on top of bruises. By the time the bruises that you got from 10 days earlier are healing, those motherfuckers are like, they're not dark black no more. They're like green and still fading. But now you got some fresh bruises on top of those. And they try to hit you in the head, man. Hit you in the head and in the face. I remember I caught one time in the head, and it was like, I don't know what a concussion is like. I don't know if even I had got a concussion, but it felt like it because, once I got hit in the head, man, it felt like somebody cracked me with a baseball bat. And I had been hit with the Bertha, man, plenty of times before Corcoran. In Susanville, when we were going at it over there, we used to get hit with them all the time. So I was used to it. And again, when you're out there and you're fighting and you're in the middle of it and you're going toe to toe, mano y mano, fisticuffs with cats, you don't feel it, man. You're not going to feel it until the next day. Your ass gets up the next day, you get up to get your breakfast or something, you're like, oh, fuck, bro. You know what I'm saying? I feel that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And you tell your celly, bro, what's that motherfucker look like on my top back on my shoulder? Damn, homie, that shit's purple as a motherfucker, bro. That's a good one. But, I think I got lightweight concussion, man, because when I got hit, it just like I got a white flash, man. And it was almost like my vision was affected. And, I don't know if it's a myth or if it's just something people say, but I know you're not supposed to go to sleep when you get a concussion. At least that's what I've been told. So I even told my celly, I'm like, bro, don't at that time, don't let me fucking go to sleep, man. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so the first time we ended up going out, I remember we got up that morning and we didn't know what day we were going to go out. We were just waiting for them to run yard. We went to committee and then, we were just waiting. Every day when they ran it, we were waiting to see if they were going to come ask us. And if they were going to come ask us, of course, we would say, yeah, we want to go. We always had our light on, ready to go, mattress rolled up, everything. What you doing back there, boy? So the day that we ended up going, so they came in, they come up to the cell and they tell us, they're like, hey, you guys go in the yard? Yes, sir. So boom, they cuff us up, take us down to the pod door, and they strip you out. They strip you out, got to get naked in front of the whole fucking pod, cough, do your thing, fucking squat 3 times, and then you get dressed. At that time, they were searching you twice. They searched you right there, and then they searched you again when you got, so you walked out. This is the first time I found out where the yard was at. So once you stripped out right there, because I'm wondering, like, where's the yard at? I know it's on the other side of this door now somewhere, because I seen the Africano go out and I had seen them run other yards. So I'm getting dressed and I'm kind of like looking around. I didn't know I was gonna have to strip out again the first time. So we walk out, Selly's behind me, and I had told him, bro, whatever you do, when they strip you out, get fucking dressed as fast as you can and just stay with me, bro. You know what I mean? Stay with me. I don't want them to split us up. I don't know how this is gonna go. You know what I mean? We had to feel our way around, man. So we go out, they put us both in the it's like the little Sally Port area that I told you guys. It's a little small enclosure right before yard. So when you get in there, you can see the yard. there's another door that leads to the yard. And you got two rectangular windows that you can see through right there. You walk in and first thing you do when you go out there to the yard is you get a visual on who you're going to yard with. That's the first thing that you want to do off top. You got a celly, my celly came in after me. The first thing I did is I went in there and I looked and I seen where they were at. There was 3 of them. No, there was 4. There was 4 of them. There ended up being 4 that went out. So I look around, I see where they're at, and it threw me off because, when we were in Quentin and we talked about what happens in the shoot program, and these guys were giving us flesh on what to expect and how it went down. We were told that if the opposition goes out first, they're going to post up on the line. There's a checker box. They're going to post up right there, and you're going to come out. They're going to put you in that little enclosure. And right there, man, as soon as your fucking cuffs off, man, just put your fucking shoes on. Don't waste no time lollygagging, trying to put your socks on or do all that pretty shit. You get your shoes and put them on. This way you're ready. You're suited and booted, ready to go. Because sometimes they just pop the door open, and if these cats are right there on the line, they're going to rush you. They're coming straight at you. But when I looked out, the first thing I see is 3 of them. One was in the shower, and 2 of them were playing handball. And even though it was like a quick minute, man, I could tell that these guys were Southsiders. I seen one of their tattoos, and I seen something on one of their stomachs. I don't remember if it was like Riverside or OC or something. Cat had a big stomach tattoo, and I knew it was a city out there in Los Angeles. So I make a note of it, and I didn't expect them to be Norteños anyway, because they were in our pod, and the fact that nobody had got at us, it was was common sense. It was pretty easy to figure out, man. So anyway, when we get in there, they end up taking my celly's cuffs off first. He starts stripping down. I go back, I lean up against the thing. They take my cuffs off, they strip us out. So I strip out real quick. I go first, like I purposely got my celly out the way, even though he was stripped out first. I wanted to take a lead role, man, because again, I didn't have that much confidence in this cat, man. And besides that, I wanted to make sure I had my shoes on and I was fully dressed. So I slid up to the door. I stripped out, did my thing, and then I put my shoes on real quick. At that time, I had enough time to put my socks on because he was still stripping out. So I put my shoes, my socks on. I'm ready to go. I kept my T-shirt in my hand. That was one of the other things that we talked about. If at all possible, don't wear your T-shirt out, man. It wasn't mandatory, but it was something that was highly encouraged. You don't want to give the opposition something to grab onto. A lot of the times, you get into squabs with some of these dudes, and instead of like just chunking them, some cats just try to grab onto you. They latch onto you and they want to wrestle, or they want to start fucking just pulling your shirt and shit, man. So, my thing was take my shirt and put it around my neck. That's what I did. I was always told from even a little young ass Norteño, when you're in these environments, man, you always put your towel around your neck or your shirt. You want to protect your vital areas. Even though that was a little overkill, I didn't need to on that yard. I mean, I didn't know. Nobody didn't have a weapon, but still, it wasn't necessary. I could have held my shirt. It wouldn't have made no difference. So after my celly after he strips out, he's getting dressed, and I'm telling you, man, I felt my heart in my throat. I'm looking out at these cats, and they're not even looking over at the door. Every once in a while, I catch them just kind of like look over to see who's coming out, and I can feel my fucking heart beating in my throat. And boom, it happens, man. The motherfucking door opens up. The door opens up, and I remember stepping out onto that yard, and the first thing that kind of the first thing that took my breath was that it was a hot ass day and the sun just fucking hit me. That was the first thing. And the second thing, it felt like I was walking on noodles, man. My legs were, I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm being straight up with you guys. Um, there was an element of fear, you know what I mean? But it was good fear. It was good fear. It's fear that you need in order to get your senses, to get everything up and working, man. Because like I said, once you feel that first wave of fear, you take that and you take the fear and the anger and you bunched all that shit up and then you just push it down and you're good, man. You're good. After that, you calm down. You'll calm down. I walked out, and like I said, the thing that surprised me is like these dudes weren't making no effort to rush us, man. Like I don't know what the fuck was wrong with these dudes. They didn't post up on the line. One of them got in the shower, and two of them were on the handball court playing handball, and the other one was posted up in the back. Um, like he was keeping tally on the handball game. So I look at my celly and I tell him, hey, rush that dude in the back. Because the way I looked at it was the way I'm thinking, and I remember some of the things that we were told in Quentin is that that dude might be dropping a piece. Either he might be dropping a piece or this dude in the shower is dropping a piece. Because not to get too graphic, man, but like these two cats on the handball court, it wasn't likely that they were dropping a piece playing handball. Somebody that's dropping a piece, either they're going to be way off in the corner somewhere so that they can concentrate on what they're fucking doing, shitting that shit out without getting shit all over them, or they're going to go to the shower and get in there under the water so that when they're pulling that fucking piece out their ass, they're going to wash the shit off at the same time. Then you got your piece and you're ready to rock, man. So those are the two cats that I felt like needed to be rushed first. I rushed the dude in the shower. I told my celly to rush that other dude. And it happened quick, man. So I rushed the guy in the shower and caught him straight slipping. You know what I mean? I just turned towards him and just rushed him. I see my celly run back towards the other dude and they started fighting. And, I'm not trying to slander the homie, man, but I was trying to watch him while I was doing what I was doing, but I was also trying to watch these other two dudes and I was trying to watch the tower at the same time. So I couldn't see everything, man. But homie went out there and he got off, and I give him that, but it wasn't the most graceful. Homeboy didn't have chunkums like I would have hoped he would have had, man. I mean, he still got off, man. I guess that's the bottom line. You know what I'm saying? The dude that I was fighting, whether it was because he wasn't in shoes, you can say that, but as soon as I rushed him, I cracked him and dropped him. Um, and he popped up and I cracked him again. I was on him, and then I turned around, and by then the gunner's already get your fucking ass down, motherfucker. And all I can see is a gun up there, man. The gun was shaking. He was everywhere. It was like, man, this dude's gonna fucking shoot somebody by accident. I turned around and the dude that I rushed in the shower was made no real effort to come back at me, man. He just kind of backed up. So I turned and I rushed one of the other dudes that was on the handball court. So we started fighting. And I did what I was taught to do, man. I made sure that I swung around that dude and got my back to the wall, and I had his back to the gunner. The gunner was up by then. The gunner was getting ready to shoot the real gun, so I knew we were all gonna hit the deck any second, man. And it happened quick. It literally, man, was probably over within 15 seconds is conservative, man. That's a conservative number. You're not going to get that much time to get out there and fight. They're not going to give you a minute. They're not going to give you 2 minutes. So again, I've said it before, you could go out with the same individual and you might have got the best of them that day. You guys go out, you do your thing, and you get them. It's not a deciding fight, right? Because nobody knocked nobody out. Nobody nobody tapped out. The gun is what stopped it. So there's no winner. The next time you go out, he might have been the one that's connecting, and you might have just caught nothing but air, man. So he looked better that day, but you don't have a defining winner unless you go out there and you just start dropping cats, which would come sooner or later. Um, Trying to put motherfucker to sleep. That's what you had to do. You wanted to try to go out, do it fast, and try to put motherfucker to sleep. And you wanted to represent the organization the way that you wanted to represent it, the way that it should have been represented. You want to go out there and knock a motherfucker out, man, so you could come back in and say, damn, homeboy knocked that fool out. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody would hear about what happened out there. The COs were some of the biggest gossipers over there, man. The fights, who was fighting, who was doing what. Sometimes they'd be, escorting somebody to a visit, or escorting somebody to a shower or to the yard, and they tell you, you know what I mean? And I remember even one cop, man, he told me when he was escorting me out one time that they were betting. He was like, hey, I got some money on you, boy. He was like, you better go out there and whoop this fool, man. Seriously, man. I got money on you, man. And I got the impression, I don't know how much, but I got the impression that they were betting big dollars, man. Because like it wasn't just it was like, man, bro, you really got to win this, man. And later on down the line, since I'm mentioning this right now, I remember some CEOs that were like, bro, you won me a lot of money, man. Good looking out. And they would those same CEOs would reward us with like extra lunches or extra trays. And shit, I used to take that shit like hell yeah. Like it was a trophy, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I won this shit. And all that mattered to you, man, is that you went out there and you put on a good show. You put on a good fight, man. That's what the COs wanted. The homies were basically, their directives were to keep fighting until we get our own yard. And the opposition was doing the same thing. And if you and the opposition went out there and you guys got off like men and you threw down and it was a good fight, you both went back in, busted up, bleeding a little bit, maybe from the block gun or from fisticuffs, but it didn't matter. You guys would look at each other, smile, and be like, "Yeah, man, we did that." We put on a good fucking show, man. And that's what it was about. That was the mentality, man. That was the mentality. So, like I said, if you went out to and got into a good fight, or even if whether it was the opposition that did it, or if it was because you got caught or you got hit with the Bertha, you couldn't request medical attention. That's a gang rule, man. And it's because, it's not really because you just can't, because you'll get deemed if you do it, but you look weak, man. You just look weak. So a lot of times, you might get hit with the Bertha. You really might pull something and you feel like, man, my back is I need some medical, but you would refuse it just to look tough. And because, you just can't do that. You want to refuse medical. Nah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm straight. Motherfucker didn't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? The fucking Bertha, that ain't shit. I ate that shit. Put some fucking some mayonnaise on that shit and ate it in the ham sandwich. I'm good, man. I'm ready for the next one. And that's literally what you would do, man. They write you up, you get written up, you get a copy of your 115, and you'd wait for the next 10 days. And during that next 10 days, you would spend that 10 days healing and working out, pumping yourself up, getting ready for your next fight, man. For the next 10 days, you take that time to heal up, and to get yourself prepped up, prepared mentally to go out and get into your next fight. And the mentality was a lot of burpees, whatever you used to get into, man, push-ups, burpees, a lot of calisthenics. And the whole time you're getting your money, you're thinking like, man, I'm gonna tear this next fool up. whoever it is, man, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna represent, and I'm gonna fucking I'm gonna get my money, and I'm gonna try to knock this fool out. And you know, when you go out there, like I said, man, you want to try to go out there and put on the best show that you can. While the whole time you're forgetting, it was easy to forget. Like I said, man, when you first get there, the things that you hear, you know, about getting shot and killed, you're petrified with that fear. You remember hearing about it, and it's something that sticks with you. You know, it's something that you're constantly thinking about. But once you're there and you're in the thick of it and you're going out, you get right back into that mindset, that warrior mentality of like, I'm gonna go out and I'm just gonna represent and I'm gonna do this, because that's what we do as gang members. It's sad, but it is. We're playing Russian roulette with our lives. We're putting ourselves in positions to where it's justified. If they want to kill us, they can kill us, man. And ain't nobody gonna fucking say nothing about it. Nobody's gonna do no time about it. You know how it goes, man. These COs are gonna get acquitted if they even get charged. And that's how it's gonna go, man. But all you care about is representing, looking good, man. You know, winning for the home team. So anyway, back to our first time out, man. It was a 4-on-2. But we didn't get to fight. Obviously, there was one cat that was on the handball court that was playing handball with the other one. He didn't get to fight. So there was 3 of them that we got him up with. One of them wasn't involved. So they put us all in cages. We end up getting written up. We end up getting our medical clearance, and then they ended up moving us. Now this is first they had Bedrock, man. Bedrock was where you get into it and then they send you to Bedrock. They put you on walk alone or CTQ for, it could be 20 days or 30 days, 60 days, it could be 90 days. Bedrock, you didn't have shit coming. All you had over there was your fucking toothbrush, your tooth powder, your cup, your state issue shit. They take everything else, all your property. You weren't getting shit over there. But eventually they shut Bedrock down. They shut Bedrock down because it became obsolete. Everybody was getting off over there. You had 10 buildings that were rocking every day. So eventually there was too many cats that were getting rolled up going to Bedrock that they were like, just shut Bedrock down, and that's what we're going to start doing. We'll just put them in the cells and take their privileges, and that's how we're going to do it. So that's what ended up happening, man. But when I ended up getting moved, I want to say the building that I ended up in at first was 3B3 left, I want to say. And then when I got moved, I went to 4B4 right. I can't remember, man. It's been so many years, and then later on, I would end up going back to Corcoran a couple of times after that. So I was in those same buildings. So honestly, I can't remember. But I remember when I get over there, you know, now that we're split up, I'm like, fuck, this is a whole nother element now, man. Now, even though I didn't really have the confidence of my cellie, I'm by myself. And my cellie was by itself. Now, this is why I'm not going to mention him by name. It's because once I got situated to the new spot that I was in, I would end up hearing from the CO that my cellie ended up locking up. He never went back out to yard after the time that we went out. I guess he just wanted to go home, and he wasn't feeling it, man. But like I told you guys, he was asking me questions that kind of had me worried, man. And even though he was playing, they're just not questions. They were out of character. They were uncharacteristic questions, man. Like, you know, if we just decided not to go out to yard, if we just locked it up, you think the homies would find out about it? You know, and do you think the enemies would tell any of the homies, or you think the COs would tell them? What do you think, man? You know, it was like, you know, do you really want to go out, homie? You know what I mean? Trying to, like, kind of trying to see what my reaction was. And it was almost like, I bet you if I would have played along with it, would have been like, man, bro, I don't want to go out. We want to just kick back. I'm almost 90% positive that he would have been like, bro, let's chill. Fuck that yard, homie. You know what I'm saying? Fuck that yard. But I was like, nah, bro. Hey, it's mandatory, homie. You know, you signed up for this, bro. We got to go out and like I said, man, we got to represent this shit, bro. You know, there's a lot of people that are looking at us. You know, we're not fighting for these yards over here in Corcoran, but we're fighting to get our own yard. There's homies that in the future, man, they're not going to have to go through this because we're going through it right now. So in some ways, man, we're breaking ground, bro. You know what I'm saying? And that's a good thing. You know what I mean? So take some honor in that shit, man. Take some honor in that shit. And you know, when you go out, bro, just remember that. You know, there's a lot of homies that are gonna come after us that will benefit from what we're doing now. But he ended up locking it up. He didn't go out again after I moved. One of the COs that came to the building ended up telling me that. So anyway, when I get over there to this new spot, one of the first things that happened was I ended up moving right next to a homie. And I'm telling you, man, it was like a breath of fresh air. It was a homeboy champ from Fresno, good sized dude, was with the business, you know what I mean? And he had got shot. And I'll tell you guys like this right now. I don't remember if I told you in episode 30 or 29 or 30, but like there was a couple homies that had already ended up getting shot over there with the real gun, with the 14. And that was Cub from Fresno. I remember Cub got hit. I remember there was another homeboy named Bandit from Fresno. He got hit. I think I already mentioned Chente, Big Chente Arroyo. That was the only one from leadership from the top. And I'm talking about brass. I'm not talking about just leadership that ended up going through Corcoran shoe. Believe like Corny, Tibbs, all those guys, they ended up getting lucky and got shot straight to the bay. When the bay opened up, they bypassed Corcoran. And I'm sure they were happy about that. Because like I said, man, I don't give a fuck what status you had, who you were, how tough you were. Everybody wanted to try to get past Corcoran. Nobody wanted to be the one that had to go and be a part of that, man. You know what I mean? So, okay, so like I was saying, man, one of the first things that I learned from the first yard is that there didn't seem to be any kind of set protocol for going out. Like, because the Southsiders that went out there didn't post up on the checkered line, because they weren't there and weren't posted, like they didn't have some type of protocol set that, you know, that obligated them to be right there. Like, even when I think back to Quentin, though, you know, the homies never made it clear if it was mandatory to post up on that checker box. They said, you know, that's the best thing to do, is to just post up right there. If you were the first one out, post up and wait for the opposition to come out. Because for one, you don't want to let somebody come out and give them enough time to drop a weapon. So as soon as they come out, you just want to get with them, man. Just as soon as they come out, fucking just start dropping bombs, man, and get to cracking. Don't let them, you know, if possible, sometimes if they're stupid enough not to put their fucking shoes on and get dressed, hey, man, there's nothing fair about this shit. I'm not going to let you put your shoes on and get suited and booted. If you didn't do that, and if you're not security conscious enough to figure that shit out yourself in the Sally port, well, that's your loss, man. You're going to have to be like a motherfucking one of the Mohican Indians, man, and do that shit barefoot, straight motherfucking so with that being said, man, you know, I kind of made it one of my own policies that, and just in my mind, I had said, you know, I knew that it was going to happen again, but the next time that I go out, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to post up on that line, even though it was never made clear if it was mandatory or not. I just felt like that was the best thing to do. Let them cats know straight off the top that you come out here, we're getting busy, man, and there's no bullshitting about it. If they can drop a piece from that Sally port to that checkered line, then they're a bad motherfucker. But, you know, I'm not going to give them a chance. So my thing was, if I went out there first, I'm posting up. If they go out there and they don't post up and they just walk across the yard, which like a lot of them did, man. A lot of them didn't just post up. It was almost like they were waiting to see how we were going to react. They'd go on to walk laps or just start strolling the yard, and you would have to just go from fucking the door and make a fucking beeline straight to wherever they were at on the yard. Sometimes you get out there and it'd be crowded, and you knew that there was other Northerners out there, and or other, there was Africanos out there. And well, I'll get to them in a second, but you might go out there real quick, shake a hand of Africano. All right, what's up? What's up? Somebody you might know from Quentin, and then you go straight to one of your targets and just take off on them. Now, the Africanos, they were with us, man. They were our allies. They were strong allies. I got nothing but love and respect for the Africanos, man. Shout out to all the Africanos, the BGF, Hadari, all those cats, Afrika. A lot of the cats that I met over the years up in Pelican Bay, and a lot that went through the Corcoran Shoe Wars. However, when in the beginning, when the war kicked off, the Africanos were with us. And at that time, I know a lot of people might say, nah, that's wrong, man. But at that time, man, from what I know and from what I personally observed, the BGF were, I'm not going to say they were calling shots for the Crips and the Bloods, but they had a lot of influence because they were the ones that were basically leading the car for the blacks. They were the ones that were pushing the line. Eventually, the Crips and the Bloods stepped back away from the BGF and said, you know what, we're going to do our own thing. We don't listen to you. We run our own program. So when that happened, things kind of started to fall apart, man. There were some Africanos that stood with us till the end, until either they ended up getting shipped off to Pelican Bay and, they took it to the extreme, or until the war was, the CDC stopped the war. They stopped running us out together. There were some that some of the old school BGF that continued to be there, man, that continued to go out and fight even after the Preston Tate murder. That right there discouraged a lot of Africanos because they were like, you know what, fuck that. These guys are they're targeting us by design. It's obvious. There's a lot of Africans that are getting killed, and there's no purpose. This is an aimless, it's an aimless fucking thing for us to come out here and to continue to fight over these yards. We're not fighting for these yards. All we're doing is giving these fucking COs an opportunity to shoot fucking fish in a barrel, man. That's what it was like. It was like they were justified. Again, like I said earlier, they were justified. If they wanted to kill you, they could kill you, and nobody would ever say nothing about it. You guys know how it goes, man. They get acquitted all the time. So, some cats were just like, man, I'm not going to be a part of that. It's stupid, man. And in some ways, when I look at it right now, I can understand that. I can understand that. Why put yourself in a situation every 10 days where you're going to get your head blown off, man, and there's no real objective. The only objective that the NF was trying to achieve was to try to get our own yard. Eventually it happened, but it happened for everybody. So it was on CDC's terms when they decided to pull the plug, not because we were going out and getting off. It took almost, I don't remember how many years exactly that war went on back there, but it went on for a while. So, they obviously felt like what they were doing was right. They had a purpose, and nobody felt like it was wrong. Sacramento were the ones that were allowing this to happen. So anyway, the first time I would end up getting over there with Champ, and there was some other cats over there. Like I said, man, it was good to just be around some homies, man. And there was this one homie from Fresno, like I said, Cub, that was basically, he was getting at us on paper, telling us like, bro, this is how this new bullet works, and this is what happens. And when you get hit with it, this is what it does. And he got hit with it, got operated on, had all the medical paperwork and everything. So he shared all that stuff with us. And his thing was, again, he was like, man, you get hit, you want to get hit below the waist. That's where you want to try to get hit, because if you get hit anywhere above the waist, you're going to die. And it was almost comical, man. It was like, bro, we don't have a fucking choice in the matter. It's not like you get to say, hey, when you shoot me, man, could you make sure that it's below my waist? It don't work like that. When they shoot, 9 times out of 10, they're aiming high. They want to hit you in the fucking head because that's something that's a notch up under their belt. You got cops over there killing inmates, and they're like, yeah, this officer, he killed 2, and this guy killed 3, and when it became obvious too that these guys were betting, it wasn't, and it was like deja vu all over again to what I went through in Susanville. It was almost the same thing, except Susanville, it was a little bit more loose. These officers up there were like, hey, which one of these guys you want to go to the yard with? You guys want to go over there with these guys, over with those guys, 214, 232. They would let us pick. Whereas Corcoran, it wasn't like that. They were picking because they were betting. They would purposely move you to a building. If you had hands, they would want to move you to a building to set it up so that, one of their best could go at it with another guy. And, they bet, man, big money on it. Again, I don't know how much. I just got the impression that it was a lot, based off of things that they would talk about, things that they would say. Anyway, Bandit had ended up getting hit in the hip. Like I said, Cub got hit. Chente got caught one in the ass. There was a bunch of homies that ended up getting shot. I was lucky, man. I think I mentioned it in episode 29 where during one of my fights, man, one of the bullets flew by my head and I could hear it just go. You know what I mean? I heard the fucking the bullet cutting through the air straight up. And you guys ever been shot at, not just in prison, but you know what I'm talking about. If you ever had a bullet fly by, you can hear it. Anyway, man, this is a good place to end this one right here. Episode 33. I'm going to take you through the rest of the fights that I had before I would end up getting put on CTQ, and I would make it up out of that motherfucker alive, man. Every 10 days from that point on now, I'm going to end up going out and I'm going to end up fighting. I'm going to talk about each fight, what happened, and some of the other fights that I seen and some of the people that ended up getting killed out there. This episode 31, pretty sure. Episode 31, it's your boy Box, man. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I'll be back with 33 probably tomorrow. With that said, I'm out.